everybody. This is Mary Kate Soliva with Veteran Voices. Thank you for joining us today as we've got a wonderful conversation teed up with a veteran and an incredible advocate and just selfless person. Stay tuned for a great discussion. Quick programming note before we get started. This program is part of the Supply Chain Now family. And today's show is conducted in partnership with our friends at Vets to Industry. Hi, Brian and the Vets to Industry team. Love y'all. And I wanted to talk about, if you do want to check out Vets to Industry, make sure you check out vetstoindustry.org. Learn more about this powerful nonprofit that is serving so many folks. They helped me during my transition, and they're absolutely incredible. And an initiative near and dear to my heart, the Guam Human Rights Initiative. You can find them on LinkedIn and guamhri.org. And if you go to LinkedIn, you can find them with the University of Guam under the Regional Center for Public Policy. Okay, without further ado, let's introduce our special guest today. Our guest served in the United States Navy, Great Navy, and she is founder and CEO of Inspirationally Speaking, LLC, and Unstoppable You Ministries. I'm a longtime fan of hers, and I just am so grateful to meet her or introduce her to all of you. Jennifer Foxworthy. Jennifer, hey sis, so glad to have you on Veteran Voices.
Hello, Mary Kate. I love you.
I know, me too. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining me on Veteran Voices.
Oh, it is an honor. It's a pleasure. I would do anything for you. So it's on and popping, as they say.
Well, we were just laughing about how the roles are reversed now, because when I was transitioning off of active duty, you had me come on an episode with you as a panelist speaker. And so now the roles are reversed, and I'm going to give it a shot. You know, a little bit of pressure here since you are the pro host. And but just really excited to let the world know who you are. And so I'd like to get this show going with some motivation, some inspiration, just as we did when we were on active duty and the alarms went off and we got pumped up by our instructors.
Yeah.
And so do you have something to share with us today? Something to get us going?
Absolutely. Mary Kate, I have many quotes that inspire me, even scriptures, but I wanted to share this one with your audience. It says, it's by Unknown. A bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because her trust is not on the branch, but on its own wings. Always believe. So that is the quote for this podcast starting out. I hope it motivates your audience to just believe.
I absolutely love that. And just even the visual of just relying on our own wings and what we're already capable of doing, our giving gifts, and just being able to use that is such a blessing. I've never actually heard that quote, so I really love that you shared that with us this morning and today, and hope that our listeners today will take that away and be pumped up about it, because I know I am. So I'm about to take this. This is the part that I feel like my guests on the show are like, Mary Kate, are you sure you want to go way back? But I'm like, I'm going to go way back. We're going to go way, way back. Instead of just talking about your time in service, I really want to start with your upbringing and where you grew up, and, you know, just really get a glimpse, a window into who you are, where you started from, your roots.
Well, like you said, my name is Jennifer Foxworthy, and I grew up in York, Pennsylvania. So people think of your South Central Pennsylvania. If you've ever heard of Hershey Park or Harrisburg, or even the Amish country, Lancaster. So York is all around those areas. It's a very fruitful county, city. I grew up, I would say, poor. I didn't lack, but we did struggle. My home environment wasn't the most conducive for a child. And I tell people my parents were caught in their own adultness. It wasn't that they weren't great people, they just weren't great together. And unfortunately, I inherited that generational curse. And it continues to go back. I went to Catholic school first to eighth grade and then decided that I wanted to go to public school for high school. And I couldn't afford to go to college like the rest of my classmates. I was good in sports, but not fantastic. I was smart, but not to get scholarships or anything like that. And again, painting that picture of low income housing, government assistance.
Right.
So I decided in 10th grade that I wanted to join the Navy. So I was on a delayed entry program for 2 years. And I'm like, 10th grade, I knew what I
And
wanted to
10th
do.
grade, did you, in 10th grade, did you end up, and that's the thing about with York, Pennsylvania, is when I think of York, I don't think of the water. So the fact that you chose the Navy over the other branches, but I wanted to see if during that time, did you have anybody that took you under their wing? Did you have any sort of lesson learned anecdotes from that time from anybody? I mean, like you said, 10th grade Navy, was it some guy in a sharp Navy uniform walked into school and said, come join the Navy?
Not really. I knew that the crowd that I was hanging around, that if I didn't leave the area, I knew I was smart and I knew that I had a lot of potential. And I'm so grateful for my dad's side of the family, who were very loving, educated, and they just, when I would see them, they took me in and was just tremendous. However, um, I knew I would end up maybe a bunch of children because I was promiscuous, because of low self-esteem. I was trying to fill that void, looking for love and acceptance because I was bullied throughout my life because of my skin color, being dark skinned, my full lips, basically my outer appearance during that time was not considered attractive. And I faced targets, from many people. Kids are cruel. I know that now, but when you're in the receiving end and a child
Yes.
and you don't have anyone at home to help you process what you're experiencing, we just internalize it and it comes out in unhealthy ways. So I had a cousin of mine that lived with my grandmother who was going to a local college. And I was like, oh my goodness, you mean Black people are educated and could go to college? But I knew that, and she was so beautiful, but I knew that I wouldn't be able to afford college or had the fortitude to try and get scholarships and all those different types of things. I had a Navy or a cousin that was in the Navy. I had some uncles that were in the service and some other relatives that were in different branches. But I did a deduction, like no Army, no Marines, not sure of the Air Force.
Deduction.
I
I want to
can
see this
swim.
deduction list.
Yes, I just kind of deduced as far as what would be, and I was like, Navy, I can swim. I was a recreational swimmer, but I can swim. And so I chose the Navy, and I told my parents that I wanted to go in. So they took me into a recruiter, and there started my delayed entry program for 2 years. Yeah. And that really
Wow.
helped keep me focused as a young girl. I grew up, Mary Kate, I grew up around, it was not uncommon to grow up with pimps, prostitutes, friends that had several kids or abortions or uh, domestic violence, homelessness. That was my neighborhood. That was my surrounding. So I tell people it's important to expose your children to more than just that, because there's a vision beyond their current reality. And because at least on my father's side, I saw the potential that of college and being educated and doing well and having nice homes, I'm like, this is obtainable. So that was my childhood.
And just your level of perseverance. I mean, as a child, it is interesting how you said about how you realize it now, but you didn't realize it then. I think when we were going through that, just having that goal just helped you get through all those trials and tribulations that you were experiencing that were of no fault of your own, but just a result of the environment that you were in. And you found your way out of that. And the thing is, I love, because just knowing you, is that you ended up going around the world. You've been to so many places and you're back where you grew up. And I just, and you think that for other folks who may have gone through what you went through, they would want nothing to do with where they started from. But just in knowing you as a person, you're just so humble and you want to give back, and you are that inspiration for that little girl that grew up in York, PA, that thinks that there's nothing beyond what's in front of her and what's around her. And so, gosh, that gives me goosebumps. I mean, just hearing and knowing how far you come. But I know our listeners aren't there yet. They're like, what is she talking about? So I do want to transition to that time in the Navy and give us a glimpse about, you said where you served, but for how long did you serve, and where did you go during that time? Because I know you had a vast career.
Absolutely. I didn't set out to diversify my portfolio, so to speak, in the Navy, but I definitely, during my 21.7 years, I
Wow.
truly diversified my portfolio. And when I say that, when I joined I knew that I wanted to retire. I wanted to at least do 20 years. Even
Mm-hmm.
at that young age, I wanted to make it a career. So my first 4 years was an ocean system tech analyst, and it was a job that was mainly on land. It wasn't on ships or anything like that. You could volunteer to maybe go to a CERTAS ship, but basically an ocean system tech analyst or OTA, we detected, localized, and tracked enemy ships and submarines. So my
Oh,
very
wow.
first duty station was Adak, Alaska. Then we had training in Virginia Beach and Dam Neck, Virginia. So Adak, Alaska. So I'm out there on the Aleutian chain, 18 years old, first first
Your
duty station.
PA.
I tell you what, this city girl, there's no trees except like 13 trees, nothing but tundra. I'm seeing moose. I'm seeing whales jump out of the ocean. It's cold. What an experience. I'm closer to Russia than I was to the mainland of the United States. And I learned to grow up real quick and
Mm.
rely on the people that I was stationed with. They became my family, dealing with the time distance. So waking up super early or staying up super late to try and talk to your family, things that people take for granted. I'm like, maybe everybody should be stationed in a remote area for 18 months. And then they would truly see that the United States is the greatest country in America. We may have our problems, but when you don't have access to family, when your food has to come on a barge, when there's so many things that we have in the mainland that you don't in the remote. You were stationed in Guam, so you can imagine what that's like. And in the spring and summer, it's 8 daylight, and in the fall and winter, it's 18 hours of darkness. So definitely a culture shock. Then I was stationed in Woodby Island, Washington. And then because we were on the downside of the Cold War,
Right.
is when the military decided we're going to take some of these Navy jobs that look for enemy ships and submarines, and we're going to start converging them. And me being on basically a shore duty or land-based job, I accumulated a lot of stuff. And to tell me that I'm now going to have to go to a ship, go figure, Jennifer, you joined the Navy. I got spoiled my first 4 years. I said, and then I found out, oh, I can do this job in airplanes as an aviation warfare operator, AW. So my slick self, I'll put in a package. I'm not going to go with this forced conversion to a sonar tech, which is nothing but sea time. I'm actually, I'm not afraid to fly. I'll do it in an airplane. So I put in my package to go air crew, naval air crew. And that, it was a lot of swimming in my prime. So a lot of, as air crew, you're flying in the airplane, you're doing your job in the airplane. And if there's a malfunction, you got to know how to parachute out of that airplane. Or if you are on land, how to survive off of the land and swimming. So a lot of that. And I didn't realize how rare I was, Mary Kate.
You're
The class,
absolutely incredible.
oh, good gracious. They classed up every week. There were some African American, there were some Black young men that were in the different classes. But when I looked to my left or right, I was the only Black female. Only Black female. And for throughout this whole training and the time that I was there, and when I graduated, and I actually had got held back because I didn't do my mile swim in the allotted time. So I got put on remedial. And when I was able to redo it, I was able to swim a mile in 68 minutes. Yeah. My side stroke.
I would have done drown by then. Really?
Yes, my side stroke. I did all the laps in the side stroke.
Well, putting the apples amazing. In the basket, right? Is that what they say? Put the apples.
And that scissor kick. Absolutely. Our legs, that scissor kick, because women, we got these strong thighs.
Oh, yeah.
And I just used it to my advantage. I didn't know you could actually sweat in a pool. Yeah. So all those laps.
I imagine that. Did they have you just like, I know this, like, I actually talked to a woman who was one of the first academy grads, and she was talking about how the bathing suits were designed at her time to have like a pocket in the front with a zipper to put their menstrual things in there. And I was just thinking, like, who designed that? And I was just like thinking, like, your bathing suit, like you were like you said the only Black woman in there was, and I'm sure they were like in shorts and stuff, but did you get like a special bathing suit that you got just from that time, just typical regular?
Yep, typical Black Navy swimsuit. Now there were white females obviously there, but yeah, as far as dark skin, I was it. And I found out when I graduated the school, I came off of the field and there was an African American, I think he might have been a master chief. He was over the school, like the training school or the holding part. And he came up to me. He was like, do you know what you just did? And I'm like, yeah, I just graduated. He said, you are the first African American that he was aware of to graduate that school in more than 10 years.
That's absolutely amazing. And you didn't even know. That was the thing. That wasn't even like a driving force for you. You're just like, I'm going to do this.
Right. I had no clue. I'm not paying attention to other people's skin colors or that I'm different. I'm just trying to get through this school the best that I can. And then to know that I dealt with a lot of stereotypes. I had one of the swim instructors tell me that the reason why I struggle with my swim strokes and everything else is because as a Black woman, my body type won't allow me to swim like my colleagues. And I'm like, really? Really? So I used his words as my fuel to set a fire in me even more, that I'm going to show you. And I did all the swimming evolutions, the running evolutions, climbing up the 8-foot wall. Basically, you think of American Ninja Warrior and I'm having to deal with it, looking like a sugar cookie because I'm climbing under, I'm crawling under these low barriers and beach sand. So yeah, I look like a sugar cookie. I think that's what they call it. So I did it all, but that was just the beginning of what I would experience over the next 15 years, where I
Mm.
ended up being the first in 3 different Navy squadrons based on my gender and skin color as a naval air crewman.
And I'm so grateful that you shared your story, because I haven't met anyone else like you. You're the first, even for me, like, you're the first one that I know to have had that experience. I mean, you were literally doing a little bit of everything. Some people, it's just like one particular skill that and school that they're getting through, but yours required you to do a vast number of different things and to demonstrate that skill set, not just for the sake of doing it, but for your safety, the safety of your crew, and survival. And so, absolutely amazing.
Mary
Um,
Kate, I'll share
so,
this real quick with your listeners. So my last 3 years, I wanted to continue to do something bigger than myself, and I went to like a special programs and became a substance abuse counselor. And that was grueling. The training in that in itself is grueling,
wow.
because I was basically a counselor or therapist for our service members and their families who struggle with abuse and addiction of substances. And many of them were fighting for their careers or losing their
Mhm.
careers, especially if they got DUIs and things like that. So I always wanted to do something bigger than myself. And that's how I ended my career as an E7, a chief petty officer. My last
Mm.
tour was a substance abuse rehabilitation program counselor. Um, in my naval air crew, I was an aviation technician. So I fixed the electronics on the airplane. I flew combat missions in 3 different wars: Kosovo, Afghanistan, and Iraq. I logged over 3,700 flight hours. I've lived, so it was rare seeing a woman and then a Black woman in an aviation flight suit with I was looking like Tom Hanks, with this aviator's jacket on, walking around base, and all eyes are on me. So it definitely I had some challenges, um, but that's adversity. At the time, it wasn't comfortable because I had leadership who was trying to sabotage my career. They weren't used to someone who looked like me in the
Right.
aviation field. So military is male dominated, and then in the aviation community, it's Caucasian male dominated. So I just want to paint that picture for your audience
Right.
of what I experienced, but it was a fruitful career. I've been over 27 different countries. I've literally driven around the United States, and I've been to 49 out of 50 states. The only state I haven't been to is North Dakota.
Well, we gotta fix that one. But goodness,
Yeah, it's on
I'm
my
just like,
bucket list.
because you see, like, we had that for the Blue Angels. Did you see that?
Yes.
So, I mean, making history, right? As for that first female. I know there's other women that have flown a fighter pilots, but the fact that she's going to be flying with the Blue Angels is incredible. Um,
Extraordinary.
and it's just like that's why I love when my family talks about like what I think about my service, and I love that I get to do this. I get to talk to women like you, the pioneers who were the first to do different things. And so it's just so inspiring for me. It's not something I have to read about in a history book, like we're living it now, but it also amazes me and blows my mind that it's even taking this long, obviously, when you consider the
Right.
the age of our nation and our military. But it's still, I am grateful to serve now, like you said, with the greatest militaries and the greatest navy for you. So I really love that you give back. I think that it's a testimony to where you came from, what you experienced, and what you continue to do now. And so, if you were in, like you said, for our audience today, we may have those who are in transition right now. I would love if you could give them some words of wisdom during after all those trials and tribulations you went through, um, sort of what your transition was like, and if you have any advice for those transitioning now.
You know what? I think because of what I experienced and what I've seen throughout my military time and then transitioning to the military, that's why I have the brand and the motto, "Let's get fit." That's on the for-profit side for Inspirationally Speaking. And you know,
Right.
as military, we make an acronym out of everything.
That's true.
So FIT is focused, intentional, and thriving. So if I can impart any type of wisdom, you must maintain focus on your goals. And that may mean cutting time out with certain family or friends, or keeping people at bay, because if your peace is distracted, you will get off focus. Also, stay intentional. Once you know what you want to do, take measures by any means necessary to achieve that. So I knew I wanted to be a motivational speaker. Somebody brought to my attention about Toastmasters. I did my research. I was like, I think I could benefit from this. And now I've been a Toastmasters for over 9 years. It has built my confidence to where I am no longer a podium speaker, but I can walk the stage and I can demand 5-figure speaking jobs and speak in front of thousands of people comfortably. That's what Toastmasters did for me. I was intentional. And I also have a bachelor's in communications. So it wasn't just,
Right.
oh, I'm just going, like a lot of people, I want to be a motivational speaker. And they just think getting up to a microphone and that's it. But they don't understand it's a craft. And I study my craft. I work at my craft. So I was intentional. And therefore, because I'm focused, intentional, now I'm able to thrive, because I don't want to just exist as an entrepreneur, as a motivational speaker, or having a nonprofit. I want to thrive because what I do impacts others. So
Yes.
that's the wisdom that I would impart to your audience.
And in such a positive way too. And did you know your so-called why as you were transitioning? Like, I know you wanted to give back, but was there sort of a turning point where you're like, this is what I want to do?
I knew that I wanted to get in the realm of human services, especially after being a substance abuse counselor
Right.
and dealing with those theories, Maslow's hierarchy or motivation to change, and just all those different things to help people see a better way of life. That I am a people person. I love people. I'm a super extrovert. So you can imagine during COVID and shutdowns, I didn't do very well. I had to find an escape, and going out in nature was my self-care. Going glamping, so to speak, with my family. That was
No animals, right, Jennifer? No animals.
oh, right. You know, exactly. I don't want them in my home, but I'll go in their home. Go figure. So, but that was the situation. Is I want people to live their best life. And as a Christian, to, if it draws them closer to Jesus Christ, then so be it. But just to provide that hope that all people are not bad, and to restore their hope in humanity. But regardless of what their faith is or not faith is, I love people. I just want to see people doing well. And as you know, Mary Kate, people experiencing hard times, emotional, mental abuse and neglect, and we're all over the map with our wellness. How can I be that change agent for someone to be like, wow, if Jennifer can do it, so can I. If Mary Kate can do it, so can I. We're touchable. We're humble. We really engage and interact with people. So that's what I want people to see. Like, oh, if I reach out to Jennifer and say I need a mentor or something like that, I'm going to respond and I'm going to make time for that person, because I would want people to make time for me. And that's my driving force.
That's absolutely beautiful. And I can definitely say that you were somebody that during my transition just last year, can you believe, Jennifer, I haven't even been off of active duty for a year yet. It hasn't even been a year yet. And it's just, but I know when I was transitioning, I still hadn't figured out what I wanted to do. And sometimes it's hard to figure out where to start. It's like, okay,
Right.
and then we may have all the confidence in the world because, we served in the military and a lot of us are type A personalities, but it's a real wake up call and you really have to humble yourself that it's a big world out there and we're not necessarily accepted in all spaces, but we have to try to find our place. And like you said, even in the pandemic, it was tough. And to find yours in nature, that's so important to have that balance of to go after what we want and be able to give and pour on to others, but also that self-care to balance that out as well. And you were definitely someone that inspired me. I hadn't even heard of Toastmasters, and now I'm in Toastmasters because you had just one conversation with you about it. And so you just don't know where one conversation is going to change a life. And so that's why
Absolutely.
and even for to just empower and encourage, because never once, Jennifer, like in our calls while you were mentoring me, did you ever say like, oh, you probably shouldn't do that, that's not the right answer. It's like instead you had me, you sort of put it in the form of a question of like, is that what you would like to do, or even introducing me to other things that are out there, other events, because I did come across people that claim to be mentors and I would reach out to them and they're like, that's a terrible idea. They really shut down what I wanted to do, and then I felt so small, and then I would sort of shrivel up. And I think it's just important for us to know to surround ourselves with the people who are going to uplift us and empower us and be able to help us foster that growth. And you're definitely one of them for me, Jennifer. So I'm so grateful to be able to share your story with everybody else so they can see how fabulous you are.
Oh, you are so amazing. I'm so proud of you, so super proud of you. But you are walking in it, and it's such a delight. And we don't have that jealousy or rivalry. When you are around people who truly want to see you win, it's extraordinary. You can take off the mask, the chains, whatever holds us back, and be like, you know what? Authentically, I know Mary Kate has my back. Authentically, Jennifer has my back. And therefore, you're not afraid to introduce me to another colleague who may need help or guidance or whatever the case is. And so another quote is, if you're the only one in your circle doing the inspiring, then you need a new group of friends.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we should be
That's
able to inspire each
powerful.
other, because you definitely inspire me.
Well, thank you. And it's gosh, it's so powerful. And I always say, like, when I am in a room with I'd say especially women, I'm just like, I'm very much inspired. Of course, I have incredible male mentors, but when I am in a group with surrounded by a group of women and they're doing just really selfless, incredible things and empowering, I feel like on a different high, like I'm on a different level, the adrenaline. And I know they tell us it's going to come back down eventually, but that's where it's so good to know who you can call up at any time, and it'll feel like it was just yesterday that you spoke to him, even if 2 months, 3 months go by. But being able to foster that kind of relationship that we look out for one another is absolutely incredible. It's why I love the fact that we're veteran sisters and that we have this relationship unlike any other profession out there, that we can always lean on one another and know that we're not going through this alone. And so whether it is something, whether we had a rocky military career and you got caught up in addictions, in alcohol, if you're divorce, whatever it is, abuse, that to know that that's not the end, that there's still so much more of life that you have left to give to this world, and that you can use your experience to be able to empower and inspire others. And you're 100% doing that, Jennifer, in so many ways. I want to talk about what you're doing now. I want you to be able to share with everybody about your for-profit, your nonprofit. Let us know where you're at now and how that all came to fruition.
So my first business, Inspirationally Speaking, that was started. I retired in April 2013, and by May or June, that was my official business up and going, that for-profit. And I knew that I wanted to be a motivational speaker. And for people to take me seriously, I'm like, I could go under speaker bureaus, but I want to be able to have that control. If I need to do something for free or be flexible in my fee, to be able to do that. So that's hence inspirationally speaking. Because I'm a domestic violence survivor and thriver, I wanted to write my first book.
Yes.
Tomorrow, My Sunshine Will Come, Memoirs of Women Who Survived Domestic Violence. So I wrote and self-published that, but it not only has my story, but it has 5 other women who had the courage to share their story with me. And I will let your audience know, tomorrow, My Sunshine Will Come, 5 of those 6, we experienced our abuse while serving in the military. So I wanted people to know, and that ended up being one of my platforms, because domestic violence is like a dirty little secret that nobody wants to talk about. And when we think of our armed forces, we think strong, no weakness, and bravery and everything else. But the domestic violence is happening right through the ranks in all branches. And for women, and even those who are experiencing, who are LGBTQ, it's hard to come forward. We suffer in silence because we don't want to show that weakness. So we just deal with it. And many times, I know for me, I didn't even know what I was in. So domestic violence awareness became a platform for me. And in addition to me being a veteran. So on Veterans Day or October, so in November, October, I would be busy because domestic violence awareness and then being a veteran. Then I realized I have some leadership skills that I can pull on as well. I'm not a one-trick pony. And I included leadership and team building into my repertoire of speaking. Then I was given an opportunity to have my own television show, Living Unshackled on Purpose, where I actually purchased paid programming slots on TV and would interview different people. So my show would come on Dish Network, Comcast, Verizon, Fios, and all various other channels. I could even, I could DVR my own show. I'm like, wow, there I am on TV. 2.3 million household reach in 6 different states. I don't know if all were watching, but that was it. But it was absolutely incredible. Once COVID happened, I switched to a virtual opportunity, and television shows are costly.
Yes.
I also had the Unstoppable You conference. So all of these platforms were under my for-profit. And Mary Kate, you may know that I didn't realize I was doing nonprofit causes under a for-profit business. In my mind, I'm just doing what God is calling me to do and to try and empower and impact people in a positive way. But in my conference, we were actually giving makeovers to homeless men and women. We would donate tickets to shelters and youth detention centers so that those students can be empowered and be exposed to an unstoppable atmosphere. But I was struggling financially to pay the bills, because that was one thing that the military, they don't really teach you, as far as when you transition and you're an entrepreneur and you want to have these different events, you set your ticket sales and go for sponsorship and donations to pay for that. But I had such a soft heart. I was giving a lot of tickets for free, like to shelters and those type of organizations, because they don't put in their budget training opportunities for their clients. And I was starting to struggle, whatever. And here I am on a retired income, disability. So whatever I wasn't getting from ticket sales or in-kind donation was coming directly out of my pocket. But this conference was meaning so much to so many. So finally, it was suggested, and for over 2 years, people were saying, Jennifer, you really need to start a nonprofit. You really need to start a nonprofit. And I was like, no way. I got one business. I'm barely making that work. Not doing it. 2 years. And then finally it came to a head to where I was struggling financially to do these events. And I was like, okay, I don't want this to be an expensive hobby. Clearly, I need to rearrange some things, to rethink some things. I'll look into this because I'm like, I need a board, or, just all the government bureaucrat stuff that you got to deal with. And I'm like, I don't want to babysit other people. And, I'm a team of one, but being in the military, you're not a team of one. But when you transition into civilian, not everybody has that mindset. So in the military, you got that mission, you got that goal, you got that job. Okay, Johnny, you do this. All right, Sandy, you do this. All right, Jennifer, you do this. There's no poking and prodding for your colleagues in the military to get it done, because if you want to go home at a decent time, you get out there and you turn those wrenches, or you clean that plane, or do
Yes.
whatever is necessary. In the civilian world, everybody is slow and relaxed, and
they're going to work as fast as they want to work. You can't make them go at your speed.
Yeah, and everybody has a job, and nobody's trying to do any more, any less. And so that's the mindset I had in some of the experience. But when I started the Unstoppable Ministries to officially be the nonprofit in 2017, it was one of the best decisions I made, because now I'm able to get those donations, because people like tax deductions. Mary Kay, I thought people would just give to me because I had such a beautiful winning smile.
Yes.
But that's not the case. They like tax deductions. They like coming up a legal official organization that they can come alongside and say, okay, I see what you're doing. You're making a difference. So yes, I have these two businesses. They're both thriving. So with the motivational speaking, I'm doing the best that I can there. And with the nonprofit, we provide services for those experiencing human trafficking, domestic violence, and homelessness. I would just love to just give awareness, educate, and make people aware of these three populations, because then on the backside, I can reduce somebody having to come to my organization needing help, needing that safety plan, needing in a crisis, needing shelter.
Yes.
So that's what Unstoppable Ministries, that's what we do.
That's what I love, that you continue to give back, and that you listened to this other calling for you, and that the other people, the messengers around you that were like, Jennifer, do it, do it. I had a doctor of mine one time, an Army doctor, tell me, he's just like the sweetest man, God rest his soul. But he told me one time that if 5 strangers tell you to do the same thing, that you should probably do it. And one of those for me is writing a book. I've had so many people tell me to write a book, and I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth. I've already got all this other stuff going on. Just like you said, same answers. And just knowing that there are people out there that need us, but we only need to pick one tiny piece of the pie. That problem that you're talking about is a problem that is happening all around the world, but you don't need to be trying to solve the world problem. You can just, start out small, start out with what you can do, and you start to grow out that network. And I think that's something that is important to highlight. You talked about, I love that you started off with saying when you retired, because it wasn't like this is just something you started yesterday, or you got off the ground within your first 12 months of retiring. This was something that you have worked so hard to develop and grow, and surrounding yourself with the right people who are going to continue to help you thrive and help inspire you to keep going. Because there are days that it's hard to keep going, right? In the sense of with what we're doing, and it's much easier to throw in the towel, but we know there's people that depend on us. So I really want listeners to be able to reach back out to you. You're an incredible mentor, inspiring woman, veteran person. I just, love you lots. And I just want our listeners to be able to reach out to you. So what's the best way? Is it for them to get a hold of you?
If people are social media savvy, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. Those are the three main social medias that I use. I do have a Twitter account, but I'm not on there a lot. So I would encourage people, especially from a professional perspective, have that LinkedIn account, reach out to me, let's follow each other, let's connect, send a message, and let's go from there, building that relationship. That's what Mary Kate and that's what you and I did. I'm also
Yes.
on Facebook and Instagram as well. If you're looking for my motivational speaking services
Yes.
or anything dealing with that, reach out to me. My website for that is www.inspirationallyspeaking.com. You can email me, send a message, whatever you would like. And then for the nonprofit, if you have any questions, if you need any services, or just want to know more, that website is www.unstoppable, and that's YOU, ministriesinc.org. At the end of the day, if you can't remember anything else that I said, just Google Jennifer Foxworthy, and I will be sure to come up
Yes.
with my beautiful brown bubbly self. You'll see a headshot, and then all these different businesses and social medias will come up. So again, if you can't figure out anything else, just Google Jennifer Foxworthy.
And what about your book? Where can we find a book?
Oh, good gracious. So tomorrow, my sunshine will come, members of women who survived domestic violence. If you
Yes.
want a personal autograph copy, I would encourage you to go to the Inspirationally Speaking website. I have a page where people can purchase it. I'll get the notification. I'll autograph it personally to that purchaser and ship it directly to them. The book is also available on online distributors such as Amazon, Walmart.com, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million,
Fantastic.
all those different distributors. It's online. However, if you get it from them, you're not going to get that personal autograph copy. So you have to determine which one you want. And the book is available ebook and paperback. So that's how you can get the published book, how you can reach out to me. Whatever you need, I'm here for you.
I love that. And it's just such a powerful story. And again, you're sharing your platform with other survivors and to be able to share their stories as well. And so I just love that you continue growing out this family and this community. And so if are there any last parting words that you have for us today?
Yeah, so under my nonprofit, if you happen to live in and around the York, Pennsylvania area, or just want to travel, I am hosting my 25th Unstoppable You conference within 9 years. So the conference has been on tour since 2013. I've taken it to 10 different states and thousands of people it has impacted. We give makeovers to homeless men and women. We provide a safe environment for domestic violence, human trafficking, juveniles who are caught in the justice system to attend. This conference is for everyone from 12 up to adult, men, women, and teenagers. We have vendors there. We have presenters that will speak on financial literacy. I even have a powerful married couple that will be giving a marriage wellness presentation, overcoming adversity. I have somebody from YWCA speaking on human trafficking. So if you are looking to be empowered and you want to network with amazing people, get your early bird ticket now. Again, you can visit the Unstoppable You website or reach out to Mary Kate. She'll get you in touch with me. But I guarantee you don't want to miss this opportunity. Mary Kay, I'm hoping, and it's Saturday, November 5th from 10 to 3:30. So there's just so much available. But the fact that this has survived 25 conferences speaks volumes.
Yes. Absolutely. And that you have so many other voices that you're bringing to be able to share. And I absolutely love that you're willing to share your stage to just be able to spread that love and kindness so much more. And thank you so much. On behalf of the entire team here at Veteran Voices, thank you, thank you, thank you. Veteran sister Jennifer Foxworthy, you're an incredible human being and just so grateful to know you. We invite all our listeners to find us and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. And a big thanks to Vets to Industry. Thank you so much for your support. And this is Mary Kate Soliva wishing all of you and all of our listeners nothing but the best. Stay motivated, do good, give forward, and be the change that's needed. And on that note, we will see you next time. Thank you, everybody.